Welcome to another episode of the Boss Experience podcast. My name is Michele Davis, and I'm your host. And in this episode, I want to talk about 5 untapped marketing strategies you can start using in your business today. So the reason that I say that these 5 strategies are untapped is because people don't talk about them. Before we get into those 5 untapped resources, there's a few things I want to just say. First is, for any business marketing, you need a strategy. So you need to map out a strategy for your business. And I talk about this in my Boss Business Planner. So if you haven't grabbed it yet, you can go to bossbusinessplanner.com and grab it. But I talk about the difference between your long-term and your short-term strategies when it comes to marketing. So I think the biggest problem I probably see with new entrepreneurs is that they don't have a strategy and they don't have a plan for their marketing activity. So they think that their marketing activity is, posting on social media every day. And, and then when it doesn't work, they're like, oh, I'm doing everything. I'm doing lives. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. But you need a strategy. And you also will hear online that you need to just do one thing. And new entrepreneurs don't know their options yet. And so that is why with my programs, my coaching program, I always share more than one option, because people need to know and try different things before they decide what is going to work best for them. Because people are entering the entrepreneurship space with different budgets. They're entering the entrepreneurship space with different needs, for their business. And marketing is not one size fits all. And it's part of what I talk about in the Boss Business Planner. But in terms of, looking at what your marketing options are when you're starting out, you want to look at a variety of different options so you know what works best for your business. Every business is not one size fits all. Can any business use paid ads? Absolutely. And get traction? Absolutely. But you have to know what you're doing. You may have to put forth a lot of time learning the platform, the back end of, if you're going to do Facebook ads. And then Facebook ads isn't the only paid advertising either. So, paid ads will be one of the things that I mentioned, as your marketing options and things you want to consider, but you want to work up to that, and if you have a budget for it, go for it. Hire someone to help you. But if you don't, these are the strategies I'm going to give you today are options you can try in your business, because I know I was frustrated when I first started, and all people would tell me is, I have to run ads. I have to run ads. I have to run ads. And I ran ads. And I ran ads and I lost a lot of money because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And the strategies and what they were showing me how to do was just like flushing money down the toilet. So that is why I think this episode is really, you definitely want to download it and listen to it again, because you want to, use these untapped strategies. So let's talk about the first untapped strategy, which is podcast advertising. Well, what is that? Remember, I told you there's more than one type of advertising or paid advertising that you could do. Podcast advertising is one of those options. So with podcast advertising, you can essentially, appear you can have an ad appear on a podcast episode. And when people listen to the episode, they will hear your ad. Of course, you would include in the ad a summary of what you do or what the ad is about, what is the service you're advertising. You have a call to action for what you want them to do. So that is podcast ads. You can start with podcasts like the Boss Experience. So all you would have to do is reach out to me at Michele at marketinggymsolutions.com. So the second untapped strategy I want to share with you is podcast guest appearances. For the guests, it's exposure for them as well, but they're also showcasing me to their audience. So it's a win-win when you are a guest on someone's podcast, and you both get to share each other's audiences, and you get to talk about whatever it is that you're promoting. So you have to have something that's specific that you want to sell on the podcast, and you don't want to run out and be on any podcast. What you want to do is think about who is it you're trying to target for your business. Who is your perfect ideal client? Who is your target audience? And then you want to then go out and approach podcast hosts that have a podcast that aligns with that audience. So let's say you're a tax professional, and you're looking to attract entrepreneurs as clients. So you wouldn't go on another tax professional podcast show to attract your clients, but you would think, okay, so what other services would entrepreneurs be seeking out? And then I can then come on and add some value on a podcast and share information about my company. Okay, the third untapped marketing strategy I want to just share with you is the Google Business Profile. So a lot of online entrepreneurs think that they can't tap into the Google Business Profile because they're online, and you're just missing out on an opportunity to get more traffic to your website. But the wonderful thing about Google Business Profile is that anytime anyone searches for some of the things that for what you sell and or type of business that you operate, you can pop up and you show up on maps. So you can show up for your local customers, but you can also show up for people that are just searching in general online. And you can create posts, you could post your offers, you can post videos, and you can really showcase your business using a Google Business Profile. So anytime someone finds you through maps or they find you through a general Google search, you have an opportunity to pop up there. So the next untapped marketing strategy I want to share with you is the guest blog posting or being a guest writer. So the same concept for being a guest writer on someone else's blog or whatever it is that whatever piece they're writing, this is the same concept as being a guest on someone's podcast, right? You get exposure to this other audience. So the one thing you want to do is always be visible, and you want to be searchable, and you want people to be able to find you. And it's not just blogs. It could be someone else's magazine. It could be, something that they're writing on some online platform. And you may be wondering, well, how do I find these opportunities? Well, there's a couple of free resources you can use when you read through these opportunities, and you have to, kind of respond quickly because there are deadlines. You have an opportunity to get your business featured in this article if they select you. So it's not a 100% done deal. So you have to keep that in mind when you're reaching out, because you may have to do 10 reach outs before you get a response back. But when you do get a response back and you actually get the featured, get accepted to be featured in the article, you can use that. You can put it on your website. You can share it with your email list. You can talk about it on social media. Okay, the two opportunities I want to share with you are both free, and you get the opportunities right to your inbox. And the first one is Quoted, QWOTED. And the second one is HARO, which stands for Help a Reporter Out. Basically what it is they'll say, well, we're looking for experts to speak about XYZ. And so if that's your expertise, then you would respond and you would follow the requirements. And of course, there's deadlines associated with it. It's not something you can decide that you're going to come back to a week later or 2 weeks from now and still have that opportunity. So you have to, take action. You have to respond pretty quickly. And it can get a little time consuming, but if you have, you create a system where these posts come out every, twice a day for Haro and maybe once a day for Quoted. Just set aside some time at the end of the day to scroll through, identify opportunities, and write. Maybe the next day you're responding, so that you have a chance to get your business featured. Okay, the fifth and final untapped marketing strategy I want to share with you is email marketing. So the good thing about email is your list is your list. So a lot of people, they rely on social media, but you have to have a strategy to get people off of social media into your list, into your email list, so that you can control the communication with them. Because let's say that your account gets shut down today, you lose all of your followers, and you lose connection with them, and you may even be out of business if that's all you're relying on. But if you create a strategy to create an email list, you move people off of social media into an email list that you can control, and you can communicate to them whenever you want. So you can communicate your sales, you can communicate promos, but you also want to communicate value. You want people to have a reason to tune into you besides seeing the next thing you're going to sell. And when you have an email list, or you have an alternative way of connecting with people that are interested in hearing what you have to say, it wouldn't matter, when Instagram and Facebook goes down for a day, because guess what? You're going to have other ways to communicate to your audience besides relying on platforms that you don't know. So let's do a recap of everything I shared with you today. So I shared, 5 untapped marketing strategies, and those untapped marketing strategies that I shared with you today are podcast advertising, being a podcast guest, Google business profile, guest blogging or being a guest writer in a publication, and email marketing. Now, obviously, there are others as well, and I can't cover them all in one single episode, but I gave you 5 to get started. And so if you want to learn more, I talk about, in my Boss Business Planner, I talk about how to establish short-term and long-term strategies for marketing purposes and for business marketing purposes. Because what tends to happen is people are just kind of, running around trying to market and trying to promote their business, and they don't have a strategy attached to their promotional work. So it ends up not yielding the results that they want to yield. So in my Boss Business Planner, I talk about, the importance of understanding the different marketing strategies and seeing how you're going to apply these to your business. And one of the key things I talk about is, knowing the frequency that you're going to do something. So not just having the strategy, but knowing the frequency. So obviously in my Boss Business Planner, I identify more untapped marketing strategies. But the key is, whether you buy the Boss Business Planner or not, that you come up with a strategy for your marketing. And that strategy can't be, I'm going to post on social media. It's a little bit more detailed than that. So if you want to grab my Boss Business Planner, you can grab it at bossbusinessplanner.com. It's available as in hard form or paperback, and also as a digital copy. So with that being said, that concludes this episode. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in.